Okay, so what we're going to do now is get some assembly lube on these valves. Just on first startup, just want to make sure that nothing is running dry. And that way we can ensure all the new seals don't go on to have issues with lifting. Okay, I just wanted to quickly point something out here. So we've got all the exhaust ports all in there now. They've all been engine lubed as they've gone in. And yeah, just wanted to make point that everything's been valve lapped already. And I had numbered each of the valves that I'd done 1 to 8, 9 to 16. And then what that ensures is that I get them all in the right place, and then I can't really go wrong. Okay, so now we've just got to send these intake valve seals home, get them all nicely seated. What I'll do is get the shims put in place for the valve springs. We've got 16 of these to do. So I am going to assembly lube the base of them and the internal, just so that once the engine cranks over, everything is nicely lubricated to freely move the crackle. Okay, so we'll assembly lube the base of it, get that all rubbed in, and just like that, internal as well. Like so. Lubricated, ready. Next thing to do is to get the valve springs. Okay, nice thing, should I say, with the ABFs, they are double valve spring, so it's nice and heavy duty. Allows for a snappier response with the valves closing. Definitely something that you would want to consider for any other builds, like the 1.8 turbos, so on and so on, as these will, for being standard, these are going to be very good for being a turbo application. Eliminates any valve float. Let's get on with this bit. Okay, next to install is the retainers. I could have went titanium with the Supertex. I don't see titanium being good for what I want it for, being that it's a street car. Okay, that's all 16 valve springs, retainers, seats, and valve stem seals. So the next thing to do is get the compression tool set up, which will apply pressure to the retaining caps. We're putting down force onto the springs and allowing us to put the collets in. So just for illustration, this is the valve stem seal, valve compression tool, sorry. It does come in a nice box with various other bits, including the spark plug adapter that allows you to run compressed air to hold closed the valves. And the reason you'd want to do that, for anyone that's unsure, that would be for anyone that doesn't want to take the cylinder head off. But whereas mine is off, I can just use, you know, just this part here, mount it over, you know, the supplied bolts for your camshafts, or if you've got any holes anywhere else to be putting bolts through, then this would be ideal. So I'm just going to get to it. Okay, so I just want to show you basically how it mounts up. You got the threaded bar here. This will rotate down, putting pressure against the valve, against the system itself, which I have firmly fixed right here. Let's get it done. I am cheating a little bit. I'm using a impact on a low setting just to get things done rather quick. Okay, so now I'll just show you this. That's the first one done. Okay, so now all the valve seats, springs and collets are all in. Next thing to do is install the hydraulic lifters. Morning people, it is the day of collecting the engine block. So we are now setting off for Coventry, over to SC Porting, pick up the block, get the crank. The crank's going to be polished. So yeah, we're cracking on with the build. So we've now arrived at SC Engineering in Coventry. We're going to go in now and have a look, see how the block is looking. Also taking the crank to get that polished. So yeah, let's go in and see how it is. I'm not sure how much recording I'll be able to do in here. Hopefully I could get some recordings of the crank being done. But if there isn't, you know, it's because I couldn't. All right. Weigh all the pistons along with the rods, try and get a nice close tolerance between all four, just so we can make sure we got a nice and balanced bottom end. This will help with longevity. So let's get to it. Right. We'll also weigh them with the rings, just so there's no discrepancy between them. Okay. Put them back in their boxes just so I don't get them mixed up. So these are all been checked to the corresponding bores. So if we keep them out. As you can see already, just from piston 1 to piston 2, we are already seeing 1.2 gram difference. So this is where we're going to want to try and once we've got all the measurements, we'll then try and match them with the right rods and the right wrist pins to try and get as close of a figure discrepancy between the four. Yeah, let's crack on with this. Okay, so these so far seem pretty consistent throughout, which is good to see. Sorry, 85.2, which so far is the same, but things could change, so we'll just keep checking. Sorry, need to add the rings to that one as well. just going to try that again. Bear with me. That'll be why I'm not completely on the platform. Okay, so we've got 3273. Three, 2, 7, 7. You see, they're pretty close. Just so I can put my conscience at ease, I'm going to check piston one again, just to be absolutely sure. Wrist pin number 4. Where have I put that? .852. Yeah, so I'm happy with that. They're consistent all the way through. Nothing to be concerned with the wrist pins, which is actually quite reassuring, to be fair. So yeah, it gives me a little bit more hope in the quality of them. Right, let's check number 1 again, just to be sure. Right, it has come out a little bit lower, but only by 0.3. Okay. Right, now that they're all checked, we'll crack straight on with checking for the rods, see if there's much deviation in them. Once we've got the final figure for the rods themselves, we then just have to do a little bit of maths and work out which ones are best suited to each other. So ideally the heaviest would go with the lightest and the lightest with the heaviest, but we'll see how that goes. Okay, so what I had found while I was trying to get everything organised with the rods and bits, I was trying to find all the gudgeon pins, C-clips for retaining the wrist pins. Could only find 3, and then I noticed this one was actually stuck in the back of the piston, so just resting inside like that. So I did re-measure it, weigh it off camera, but I thought I'd do it again just so you get to see how close these Wiseco pistons really are. So if I just turn this on again, okay. So now we've got 3274. So we've got the low of 4, high of 7, all in the 327, 0.4 to 0.7. So there's really nothing. Between them, they are very close. So their quality control is remarkable, to be honest. So now we're going to get on to, well, I didn't realise how small this was going to be when I ordered it, but it was cheap, so that's kind of more on me, to be honest. But we're going to try and figure out how we can weigh these and try and get some nice figures out of these too, hopefully. Okay, so I think we're just going to have to take measurements long ways. I think that's realistically going to be the only way. If we try to go any other, it might interfere with the surround. So let's give it a try and see what we come up with. I may do this a couple of times just to see if there's any inconsistencies in the way that it's measuring. So we've got 605.3. Okay, so it's within a 0.1 of a mil. Let's do it a third time. Okay, it's precisely what I mean. I just caught it on the side of the frame there and it just gave an inconsistent reading. 6052, okay, so it's been like that. Consistency 2 out of 3. So I'm going to say we'll go with that figure. Straight away, 6053. Let's make sure I double check that one because it was and in between 3 and 4. So I just wanted it to settle so we got a certain figure to work with. Okay, so now what we've got to do is try and match these with the pistons and then see what we can work with this. Alright, so I must say I'm actually pretty impressed with this. So with the rods, as you probably saw yourselves, so that's 605.2, 605.1, 605.3 and 604.9. Now if you remember with the pistons, once we'd actually worked out why number 1 was really high, that come down to 328, my apologies, 327.4, 327.5, 327.3 and 327.7. Now, sorry, if I can just bring this over a little bit, get that out of the way. Okay, so I have paired Piston 1 with rod 1, and their combined was 932.6 grams. Then we've got piston 2 paired with piston 2. So if I just say here, so 327.5 paired with 605.1, we have got another 932.6. Then we've got 327.3 paired with, so that's piston 3 paired with rod 4, and the rod 4 gave 605.3. That was another 932.6. So now that leaves us with piston 4, 327.7 paired with 604.9. Well, that combined together is another 932.6. So these rods are Pro Race Engineering, and the pistons are Wiseco's 8.5.1 compression ratio. I brought these as a kit from Pro Race Engineering, and I didn't order anything balanced or anything like that. And that's a real good figure to start with. So now what we're going to start doing is pairing the pistons with their rightful rod. Yeah, and then I won't be doing the rings just yet. I'm just waiting on my piston ring tool, because these have been all checked at the machine shop, because if anything needed doing to them, you know, they have all the tools there, whereas if I was to buy the tools, it would have worked out more expensive than actually just getting them to do it, which Sean was happy to do. He checked them all out, and everything come back okay. So let's get some pistons and rods together. Okay, so when it comes to all these components here, because they have been at the machine shop, I know I've just opened these, but I have been dotting them around, and as you can see, I've been doing many bits for this engine on top of this worktop, so it's not necessarily going to be the cleanest area. So I will give them a little clean over with a bit of brake and clutch cleaner, just to make sure there's nothing on there that shouldn't be on, so that when we push them into the rods and the pistons, we're not dragging any dirt through and putting any unnecessary scoring or damaging any surfaces when we can avoid it by just giving it a bit of an extra clean. So let's get started with that. So we're going to be pairing the piston 1 with rod 1. Let's get them together. I'm just going to put these rods at the rings out of the way, just so that I don't knock them off. I know exactly what I'm like. I can be as clumsy as that. This will get them clear of our way. Okay. Right, same again. Just give the surface where they're going to be mating a bit of a clean. Not even just that as well, like, you know, they could have dry stored it with, yeah, it come out quite dirty there, you know, with any oils and bits already in there to preserve, and even that may not be the cleanest, because if they come straight from machining and then just put into a little bit of a little bit of grease to protect it, it could have metal filings or anything for that matter still in there. So always a good practice just to clean it, because there's no harm in saving yourself from going wrong. Okay, right, so if we grab our first wrist pin, I like to use this Lucas assembly lube. You see any earlier in the video, I was using this to assemble the cylinder head. So it's going to be the same sort of thing, just, you know, put enough on there just to keep it all nice and moving, so when the first startup comes along, it's not going to have any unnecessary wear. This is quite sticky as well. It reminds me actually of like almost like a carpet glue. Oh, it's just sticky. So we'll look for where we'd already started putting the rings in. If I get it nice and in line there. So we've got the spot here on the piston. That's going towards cam pulley. And then the text would be the front of the rod. So I don't know if you can really see in here. It might be a bit dark. But there is some embroidered text here. Okay, there was a little bit of a squeeze to get it to the end there. Still a little bit more travel. Okay, let's find something that's soft enough. There we go. Let's satisfy and click home. So now we've got our piston rod, text at the front, little spot here going to the left, and that is the first piston complete. Okay, now that's done, I'm just going to crack on and get the remaining three paired together. But just look at that, that is absolutely amazing. Alright, let's get on with it. If you have liked this video so far, please do give us a like and subscribe so we can bring more content on the engine build and the Mark II going forward. All four pistons ready to go in the block, but at the moment we are currently waiting on a few more bits. We've got the we've got the ACL main bearings for the crank and the con rods. We've already got the ARP bolts, so that's not a problem. We're also waiting for the main studs in ARP and the head studs, but they might take a little while yet. So what we're going to do is, I'm not going to snug them all the way home, but I'm going to reuse the bolts that are currently in the main caps, just so that I could get everything, all the pistons in place, like the con rod's all snugged, so that once the ARPs come, I could just take the old hardware out, and then put the ARP in and get them all talked to spec. Yeah, I'm just glad that these are done now. That's another thing off the list. So as soon as the ring compressor comes, I can then get all the rings seated, and then clock them the right way, ready for when the bearings come to drop them straight in.